Welcome to my Gran Turismo Sports Specialtatin. Today, we have some Group 4 cars around Willow Springs Big Willow, and this particular race is the FIA Manufacturer Series race. And as every Manufacturer Series race, I'm in a Dodge Viper, and as in most, it's painted with Mopar colors. Really, about the only time I don't paint them in Mopar colors is if it's in something other cool colors, like Richard Petty. Those are cool. There's a whole heck of a heap of Richard Petty liveries now, which is awesome. This livery is also awesome, and it's really pretty, and Mopar for the oh yeah, there's a race going on. Yeah, okay. It's probably going to happen a few times during this race. When it goes to cinematic cam and I'm looking at the car, I might get a bit distracted. But yeah, there's a race too. There's a race. And it's actually a pretty cotton-picking good race, ain't it? It's kind of... I guess it's a good thing now that PD seems to have gotten the balance of power pretty good. I mean, it's still front-wheel drive in the lead, and this is probably about as high of a split there is, given that I'm S-Class, but... yeah, whatever. I mean, it's not that far in the lead. Actually, the top three in this race actually only qualified about a tenth of a second away from each other. Fourth on back, well, that's fourth place right there, or previous fourth place. So yeah, fourth on back ain't quite as close, but the top three, pretty big and close. As for now, though, it's actually a good race a little bit on back. That's also a good-looking Viper, ain't it? With, like, the racing stripe, and yeah, that's cool. Okay, race, yeah, race, Actually, that Viper's racing pretty big good. The Viper up more in the front racing pretty big good as well. And yeah, now it's actually looking like the Vipers are moving up the pack. That's pretty big good right yonder. As for that colored, very like different color vehicle, that's something. But that Viper's something better, I guess. Yeah. I guess that makes sense, don't it? Yeah, it's ahead. So, yeah, therefore it's doing better. Yeah, because Vipers always do a race. Yeah. Okay, anyway. I guess this is a good time at any to truly focus on the race. Now, see all the Vipers, they look all pretty in the racing. Okay, yes, race. That Viper looks pretty big and good right yonder in the race, because, yes. As I said, though, before, the Viper actually qualified within a tenth of a front-wheel drive car, so they're getting balance of power better. That is something. And actually, it seems like in general for Group 4 now, that Vantage is pretty cotton-picking good. I guess that's also something. That's a different one than what used to be good, so I guess they are moving it around some. Yeehaw. Yeah. But it is still front-wheel drive in the lead. Also, another weird thing about Willow Springs, too, is I think there's parts of the track that sort of favor every car. It's actually a good, well-rounded track. Some cars are just... or some tracks, some cars are just downright better in. This is a pretty good all-rounder, because there's short, tight turns that, like the cars that we're just in, that might prefer the better handling cars. But then the exit out of the turn would prefer the faster accelerating cars. And this section would prefer the faster overall top-end cars. And then there's like medium speed turns that would sort of be an all-around as well. This is a pretty good track all around. It is majority high speed, and it's actually high speed towards the end, so cars might be able to take advantage of that are high speed. But there's also draft, so even though in theory that Vantage should be slower because PD logic, it actually ain't, and it gets the pass. Done for a second, and then now it's not. So that gets the Viper in the second now. As I said before, the Viper is indeedy dandy moving up the pack, and that's pretty cotton-picking cool right yonder. Another weird thing, too, about this track is that... well, I guess it ain't really weird as much as it's just something completely different. Is at like the Nürburgring or something, if you go off a bit, you spin out. In this track, if you go off a whole heck of a heap. there is really no going off just a bit. If you get a tire off the track, you get your car and a half off the track. There's not that many other tracks that do that, but I guess that's one of the scary things of sand. In general, I like this track because it's wider, faster. There's actually less chance of a mistake in theory because it is wider, but if you do make a mistake, it's just going to be automatically bigger. In theory versus reality, it depends on the driver, but I think actually for now, my reality is not that many mistakes. I probably made the least mistakes in the field, again, knock on the fake wood, because there's still a whole heck of a heap of racing going, but yeah, I'm right on the leader's back bumper, really, and that's pretty early in the race, so that's pretty cotton good right yonder. Actually, everybody qualifying within a tenth of each other top three pretty much means that it should be this close, because the draft, as I said before, draft is a great neutralizer, and I think for this race, it's showing. Again, tight turns, though, so there ain't as much draft, so... Well, that was interesting. The tight turns, in theory, the front-wheel drive cars had struggled in. It actually gained a little bit of time through there. So PD did something to balance the power. I'm just not sure what. So, yeah. I don't know how the cars are going to react when the front-wheel drive car is gaining time in the slower sections. Interesting. At least the Viper looks good going around the track, though. It's definitely the best looking car in the race, ain't it? And it's in the draft there, it's taking nice line. Getting speed real... Okay, race, yes. Actually, the Viper's gaining enough speed where it's still relatively close. As for the other cars, though... actually, they're even relatively close. That's something and a half right honors racing throughout the field. The FIA races in general seem to be more competitive, but even still, this is a relatively long race at a relatively fast track. It's actually about halfway through the race. It will be at the end of this lap, and the racing's still close throughout, so yeehaw there, most definitely. And I didn't exactly want to do a rapid racer rundown for this one just because, as I said, there's really no need to force it. And actually this race is long enough too where you can sort of string out the field a bit and look at some of the other cars to just enjoy how they race as well. I mean, again, good balance of power. Up front, it's a Viper versus a Scirocco. A bit in the back, it's Corvette versus a Megane. So, there you have it, folks. Actually, even further in the back, there's still even battles. That's a Corvette versus a SLS. So that's pretty common cool too. That's a close one. As I said though, going through the field kind of gets the drivers better or whatever. But, as with every video, you can like pause or whatever if you want at certain times. And there's another Viper. That Viper actually had sort of kind of paint job that I use with like the move in the front and the don't hit in the back. And it's also a Viper. And Vipers are cool. And it's about to gain yet another spot. Okay, yeah. That's the last time I'm gonna do that, I promise. It's this far in the race now. I think I've seen all of the Vipers. I think. Maybe. I don't know. That Viper's pretty good. Okay. Focus. It's a race. Okay. I think I'm good now. That Viper is doing good, actually. I think it's gained some spots. Viper in second, well, by default gained one spot. It qualified in third, that's known. And I think that other blue Viper gained some spots as well. Dodge has been pretty cotton picking good as for the Manufacturers Cup. Gaining spots is always a good thing. And it's looking like it might eventually get this spot. It seems like it does have the better handling. As for the straightaway, it has draft. Yeah, the Viper's looking good all around. Yeehaw. Can't really complain about that, folks. This race is making it to where all the cars can compete. The only thing that I think is still a bit weird, it might just be the track as well, but it seems like despite cars that, like, should in theory be slower, even in a draft, it sort of seems like they're still not gaining all that much time, and you get also vice versa. Draft is kind of an equalizer, but it seems like it's different for different cars as well. Maybe that is realistic. Maybe PD is actually simulating the car's shape good or something. But it even does seem like draft makes a different effect for different cars at times too. That's just something to know. I don't really know how to explain it. It's one of those, it's kind of see it to believe it, but I mean, even sort of kind of like there. But anyway, back to more of some lead racing because you're getting relatively close. Then again, not really yet, but it's getting there. I guess this is probably one of those races though too. At this point, everybody kind of knows everybody's lines, so in theory, there ain't really going to be much of a mistake. So it's pretty much going to be everybody has to pass everybody cleanly at this point now that they're spread out and kind of know each other. So that can be interesting depending on what you like. And I assume the majority actually do like stuff like that. I mean, that's good racing for you folks, isn't it? Again, the racing's good throughout. That Viper's pushing, the lead car's pushing, and I'd say they're pretty much a stalemate. But, again, even though at this point everybody knows everybody's line, that doesn't mean there ain't going to be just a true and real mistake that ain't dirty or anything, it's just plain a mistake. So if they keep on pushing at pretty much max, eventually probably somebody's going to make a mistake, so we're just going to have to see, folks. That Viper, as usual, it's actually looking pretty goddamn good. Vipers are awesome. And that does relate to the race because, well, it's a truism. That Viper's probably been the most consistent car in the field. Actually, that's true of how the Viper races, too. Vipers in the production version, just the ones that you buy at a dealership are used to because FCA logic, can't get them anymore, are pretty oversteering. The race car variants are a little bit oversteering. Just enough where you can chuck it into a turn and be able to keep your speed, but not so much that you're going to spin out, so they're pretty much perfect. A little bit of oversteer is generally a good thing because you can sort of correct for a little bit. Understeer in any circumstance ain't really all that good though, and well, I think that's sort of kind of why the Viper's starting to gain now. Now that the Scirocco's having to push 100% because the Viper's right there, there's more of a chance of it understeering. There's pretty much no chance of the Viper understeering, but well, there is the chance of that because, well, yeah, there's been some incidents with that there driver in the front-wheel drive car. So, this is gonna be bad, isn't it? I'm gonna race clean because I don't really want to kill my SR. That's really about the only reason at this point. But I think I might have just intimidated that driver enough to where, yeah. As I do when drivers intentionally race dirty all the time, I'll send them a message to say, quit doing that, or I'm going to do it too, and it usually does work. It seems like it is better to warn them before you actually do something, which that driver actually didn't give much of a warning at all, as I showed in the previous actual video I posted, not just that little clip. But yeah, well, that driver did eventually get karma, and I didn't even have to force anything, so there's that, folks. Then again, might have been that car. I think that was the definition of understeer there. But that ain't my fault. They didn't pick the right car for this race. So, whatever. I feel no remorse whatsoever. In fact, I'm sort of kind of happy about that. I mean, second try, they raced good, or actually what ended up in second actually is, I don't know, dangerously close to not second, I guess. That's probably the best way to put it. And, I mean, that's kind of, sort of... I'm trying to put it in a nice way, because I guess, again, in race clean, that race, I think it's just sort of kind of how racing goes, I guess. It's like in NASCAR back a few years ago with the Matt Kenseth versus Joey Logano feud. It depends on really how you look at it, who was right there. It kind of depends on how you look at it, who might be right here. But, well, that driver wrecked on their own, even though I was applying a whole heck of a heap of pressure, so. And I didn't hit anybody, though, so I wasn't dirty. I'll just put it like that. So, it's actually looking like I am gonna get the win here, even with that driver who wrecked me in a previous race after I didn't wreck them in the last race. What's kind of ironic too is I did almost the exact same thing I did in that first race that made that driver mad. At this point, I don't think he could dive bomb me, but that doesn't mean he ain't gonna try. It's in everybody's best interest if he doesn't try, but we'll see, folks. Oh, Jiminy Cricket. Yeah, that driver is... I'm just not going to say anything, because what I will say is it's a Dodge Viper win in the Manufacturers Cup race, and that Dodge Viper is indeed dandy, painted in Mopar colors. So I haven't exactly gotten to say this in a while, but I guess it is a truism right yonder, so I guess about the best point to say it would indeed dandy be now. Because... well, it's a team Mopar victory right yonder. The Dodge Viper gets the win for the Manufacturer Series race with the Mopar colors in a pretty cotton-picking good race throughout. Where a driver that deserved some karma got some karma. So you can't really get better than that, can you, folks? And that is indeed Andy Worth. Yeehaw!